I can tell you, I went to the concert in Hawthorne last June.
Oh, we got sick.
Yeah, I like the Ward David, who he's like an independent.
Thank you for being here this evening. It is Wednesday, March 6, 2024 at 5:29 p.m. I'd like to call our meeting to order for the Lacey Parks Culture and Recreation Board meeting. Let's see. Order land acknowledgement is next. The Parks Culture and Recreation Board meets on the ancestral land of the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek, including the Nisqually Indian Tribe and Squaxin Island Tribe. We acknowledge and remember those tribal people not recognized today who were absorbed or relocated into other tribes for survival. We recognize the ancestors and their descendants who are still here. We recognize and respect the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek as the traditional stewards of this land since time immemorial, and their role today is taking care of these lands in perpetuity. We recognize and have the responsibility to call attention to the histories of dispossession, forced removal, and abridged treaty rights that allow our nation, state, and city to develop as they have today. We recommend that community members read the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854. And now we'll move into the approval of agenda and minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda as written? Make a motion. I have a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the approval of the amended agenda say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. It is motion carried. And we'll move on to the approval of the January 3rd, 2024 minutes. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes for January 3rd?
Make a motion.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Larson. So all those in favor of the approval of January 3rd, 2024 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries for the approval of January 3rd, 2024 minutes. Item 3, announcements. Do we have any announcements for this evening?
I don't have any. Do you have any, Jenny? Nope.
Okay, no announcements. Moving on to public comment. Do we have anybody online, remote? That okay. Are there any here for verbal public comment? Saw none on our. And written public comment, those came in our packet, so hopefully everybody had a chance to read those. There's nothing moving forward on that. We will move to business items, the Lacey Midtown District improvements at Huntermore Park with Sarah Schelling from the Community and Economic Development Senior Partner.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me here tonight. I'm Sarah Schelling. I'm a senior project planner with the Community and Economic Development Department. And I'm here to talk to you tonight about the Midtown, Lacey Midtown, and Huntermore Park, potential Huntermore Park improvements, as well as development taking place around Lacey Midtown. Some of you, if you've been in Lacey long enough, may know Lacey Midtown formerly as the Woodland District. But a few years ago, we did a rebranding effort in order to help continue the effort to define a downtown for the city of Lacey. So tonight I'm going to take you through a little bit of history about the Woodland District, the planning related to creating a downtown, the Midtown branding, as well as some near to midterm projects that are going to be affecting Lacey Midtown and Huntermore Park really specifically. Before we get started into all the slides, I want to define so everybody knows where we're talking about what the boundaries of Midtown are. Lacey Midtown is defined from I-5 to the north, it's the northern boundary. The southern boundary is Pacific Avenue, and then Sleater-Kinney and College Street form the east and west boundaries. Although I'll say that Sleater-Kinney and College Street, those boundaries are a little fuzzy because when we were going through the branding process, we thought it was really important, especially when we get to technology and education, to make sure that we included St. Martin's University, the Makerspace, Lacey City Hall in the Lacey Midtown because it was central to the brand identity moving forward, as well as South Sound Center because the potential that that has for commercial activities as well as potential future redevelopment. So those are the boundaries we're talking about when we talk about Lacey Midtown. This is just the College Street boundary, and we're talking mainly about everything. Tonight we'll be mainly focusing on the Woodland Square Loop area. So let's we'll set the stage for Lacey Midtown by talking a little bit about Woodland District planning and its long history. For the past probably 25 years, the city of Lacey, the councils and the community have taken steps to define a downtown. If you know Lacey, we don't really have a downtown or a central core. The idea was to create an identity that everybody could really resonate with. And this planning process started 25 years ago with the Downtown 2000 plan. And the idea was that the downtown would be a mixed use center with 18-hour-a-day vibrancy. Uses could include restaurants, higher education, residential and service commercial uses, as well as education and recreational spaces. The effort began with the development and adoption of the Downtown 2000 plan. This was a community planning effort that really established a vision for what we wanted to see, the community wanted to see moving forward in the Woodland District. Now we'll be talking about as Lacey Midtown, but that vision, and I'm going to paraphrase it, not read the whole thing, but the vision, which rings through still till today, which we have carried forward, is that downtown Lacey will be a vibrant, alive, whole, prosperous place for all residents and visitors. It will invite a rich mix of people of all ages and ethnicities, especially children, teenagers, and seniors. So the council adopted this plan. And once it was adopted, it drove the development of some efforts for zoning and development standards to help create an urban form that was indicative of a downtown. So we developed the Woodland District zoning district standards, which established minimum front setbacks so that buildings were constructed to the street. There was no parking in between front doors and sidewalks. So it looked more like the downtowns you see in maybe downtown Olympia or downtown Seattle. We also adopted higher level design standards intended to create an urban form that matched the city's vision. And we did see some success initially with the Downtown 2000 plan. If you think about 6th Avenue and the Belltown Center building closer to Sleater-Kinney, that was built to the Woodland District design standards. It's right at the street. It's got Safura's restaurant. I think that's in Belltown or the building next to it, with access right from the sidewalk rather than a parking lot into Safura's restaurant, as well as the gym. And then also something that's critical for creating a downtown is getting residential into your downtown. And so the Woodland District or the Woodland Apartments, 6th Avenue Apartments were our first real big apartment project. And I believe those were constructed in 2008 or 2009 under those new design standards. They were originally created with commercial on the bottom. That was the intent of the plan, commercial on the bottom with residential on top. Those were our two big successes based on that Downtown 2000 plan, but development was a little bit slow. I think out in more suburban areas, you see developers who aren't really excited to build new buildings or new construction with parking lots behind their front door. They want their door on their parking lots rather than on the street. So there were a lot of things that were, I think, kind of keeping development slow in the Woodland District. And then the Great Recession hit in 2011. And the Great Recession really led the city, the council, and the Community and Economic Development Department to take a step back and try and figure out how we could spur development in the Woodland District, because this was going to be the downtown. It was the defined downtown. So the city decided that they were going to revisit the Downtown 2000 plan with the 2011 refresh. And this was another community planning effort. We had a consultant on board, and what they did was they determined that the original vision, one of the questions the council asked was, well, is that vision from the Downtown 2000 plan is that even valid anymore? And so the 2011 refresh confirmed that the vision was valid and people wanted to see the Woodland District as downtown Lacey. So we moved forward with the Woodland District strategic plan, which was a recommendation out of the 2011 refresh. And that strategic plan identified 25 strategic actions that the city could take in order to start spurring investment in the district. And let's see, did we move that? These are the 25 strategic actions that the strategic plan recommended. And a number of them are completed. So we've taken action on a number of those items. One of those items was a form-based code. And although we already had design standards that, zoning standards that suggested you build to the street, the form-based code took it a step further. It really defined where buildings were to be, but it removed a barrier, the use barrier. So zoning, if you're familiar with zoning at all, it's a separation of uses. Making sure that compatible uses go with compatible uses, so you don't have residential next to a pig farm. So, which is one of the old classic zoning cases, which is why zoning came to be, but it doesn't have to be quite that dramatic. What the Midtown, the form-based code does was it really gets away from use-based restrictions to a certain extent. You still can't have a pig farm next to a residential building in Lacey in the Woodland District. But it does say, we don't care as much about what you're doing in there. You can sell whatever you want to sell as long as your building looks like this. Build to this so that we can start developing that urban form. And if you build to certain standards, if one business moves out, it's likely another business can move in and use that same space. Without too much redevelopment that would need to occur. So it sets a form. Another thing that the strategic plan recommended that the city do was undertake a new branding program. Strategic plan, the consultant for the strategic plan interviewed the community and asked what you think of the Woodland, what you think when you hear Woodland District. And a lot of the responses, well, we think of old office spaces. We think of places filled with trees, and there were a lot of trees, but not something that you could see as something that was alive and urban. And so the recommendation was to rebrand. And that's what we did in 2016. And let's see, can I go back?
The arrows down on the side.
There we go. So that's what we did in 2016. Well, 2016 was the Lacey form-based code to establish the form-based zoning code. And in 2018, the Community and Economic Development Department, along with a consultant and a stakeholder committee that included representatives from South Puget Sound Community College, St. Martin's University, the Economic Development Councils, some staff from the city of Lacey, and a few other folks from the private industry to rebrand the city of Lacey or the Woodland District into something that is maybe a bit more exciting. And from that effort, Lacey Midtown and Innovation District was born. I'll move forward again. Here's a map, and you can see all of the borders, and as you, these are fuzzy borders. We really wanted to make sure that St. Martin's was included, the makerspace was included, and South Puget Sound Community College was included in those boundaries because of the idea of this being an innovation district to attract innovative business uses to come and locate in our office district. So all of these efforts, planning efforts that we've undertaken have taken us to today and to continuing to create this vision that was enumerated in 2000 to create a mixed-use center with 18-hour-a-day vibrancy, restaurants and entertainment, business investment, higher education, and residential spaces. And it's still been slow going, but we've seen in the last few years, we've been lucky enough to have a private developer partner who really believes in the city's vision and is taking some real significant actions to help move it forward. But under the branding program, the consultant created the Lacey Midtown Branding Live, Learn, Earn, Create Urban Design Guideline document. And this is a document that can be implemented. They propose things, placemaking ideas and projects that can be implemented throughout the district to help identify it as a unique place where people can be and gather and to do business and spend time, or where they can live, learn, earn, and create. So the document was completed in 2019. with implementation intended to begin in 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020. The pandemic began and that really stalled installation implementation until really just last year. And the first phase of implementation, I don't know if you've noticed the utility box wraps. Those mark the district boundaries for Lacey Midtown, and that's our first implementation product. Some of the other things that will be, these are just some of the branding elements that you'll find in the document. When I talk about placemaking, it's creating things that make people remember places, and whether that or not that's lights, overhead lights, unique restaurants, landscaping along streetscapes, and then that urban form. Those are things that really create place. And this document talks a lot about placemaking. And as I said, the utility box wraps were the first of our implementation priorities. They were kind of a low-hanging fruit, something we could get taken care of more easily. Some of the next things that you might see in the near future going up in the district are light pole banners, which may mirror the images on the wraps, so that we can create a consistent message throughout the district so that you know when you're here, it's Lacey Midtown. Additionally, signage and wayfinding is important so that people know that there's something there that they can go to. I imagine wayfinding signs for Huntermer Park as maybe a first step into developing wayfinding, as well as for South Puget Sound Community College and St. Martin's University. One of the other elements of the branding document is, and something that's considered fairly important for Lacey Midtown, and especially in connecting College Street from St. Martin's into the new downtown area, the Lacey Woodland Square area, is a roundabout at College and 7th Avenue. And this is important in order to ensure safe passage of students, those users, people we intend as users for Lacey Midtown, to get from St. Martin's safely across College Street. So this is it's considered a critical safety need at this point. Right now, this is just concept. It's in really early stages of discussion, but it's something that you could see in the future to help further implement the goals of the Woodland District Branding Program or the Lacey Midtown Branding Program in order to get people in and out of the district safely. One of the other elements that I want to talk about tonight is that the branding guidebook has a lot of discussion on this Huntermer Park. So the branding document recognizes Huntermer Park as a really critical piece of Lacey Midtown and a really important part of the district. And so it envisions with a few enhancements that it can really speak to the existing users, including all the people who attend festivals, workers nearby, and our events that we put on in the summer. With a few additional enhancements, it can also speak to the people who are going to be around there in the future. And we'll talk about those folks in a minute. But the brand document, as I said, recognizes that this is a gem, and that there's opportunities for some limited enhancements. And with the play equipment in the park nearing the end of its life cycle, the city manager has suggested that the next phase of Midtown branding implementation be Huntermer Park improvements. And so Jenny and I will be working on an RFP or an RFQ to get a consultant to start putting together some design ideas for Huntermer Park. Some of those enhancements could include a small water feature, a new plaza, some art, additional elements that can engage the community all around the park. As I said, we're going to be beginning this process this year with an RFQ for a design consultant, and then construction potentially 25 and 26 for those improvements. And as I also said, the improvements, they not only need to appeal to those people who use it today, but we also need to think to the few that not too far off distant future and those folks who are going to be using it in the next few years. And so to that end, I'm going to share with you a few of the projects that are anticipated to take place. These are just some of the other design ideas from the Urban Design Guidebook. And this actually a rendering of Huntemer Park, and I'll talk more about the specific project, but this was developed by MJR, who's our property owner, who owns many of the properties in Woodland District, who's the one who's really invested in moving the brand, the Lacey Midtown brand forward. They own the buildings on the park, and so they have a lot of interest in seeing what happens with the park and maybe being a potential partner and moving some plans forward. So let's see. That's the first building I'm going to talk about, actually, the 640 Woodland Square building. This is immediately adjacent to Huntemer Park. MJR is the property owner, and they have plans. The building is empty right now, but they have plans for improvements to this building. They're going to keep it as office, but they do plan on creating a quality restaurant in the ground floor immediately adjacent to the park with some plaza and outdoor eating space that will immediately front on the Huntemer Park. And by quality, think like Ricardo's restaurant, something unique that you're not gonna see. It's not a chain restaurant. It's something that's gonna be unique to Lacey and that will really probably draw people into Huntemer Park. Yeah.
Can you show us, oh, sorry.
Yes.
Question to that, like you mentioned Ricardo's, that kind of feels like that's a higher price bracket of people that are gonna be limited to be able to eat there. So that's a little bit concerning to me. You know, as far as creating a rich space and not, you know, making it for all of Lacey community members that can't necessarily, I mean, I understand they don't have to eat there,
Yeah.
but it kind of sends a tone.
Sure. This developer also, and I'll move to the next project is the big project that's really going to be transitional for the district. They have some other proposals for commercial space on the bottom floor that will probably include restaurants and other eating and other establishments that can speak to a wider range.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to kind of say that because I kind of know the area that surrounds that area and that kind of pushes them out of that space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is kind of concerning to me. So,
I was just gonna ask if you could show where Huntemer Park is over there on the left, how that building is.
Engaging Huntemer Park
Yeah, isn't the park up there on the left side?
on the left.
Oh,
Yes, it's right here.
Right there,
Yes, and this is gonna be their plaza.
location.
just wanna make sure everybody's dialed into
Yeah.
which building that is.
Yep.
Yeah,
And Woodland Square Loop is here. The next project, which is transitional for, like I said, for the Woodland Square Loop area, is the 7th Avenue residential project. And this project proposes 376 total apartment units in 2 5-story buildings with about 18,000 square feet of ground floor commercial and retail space in the north building, which is this building here. The project is going to include underground and surface parking, landscaping, and stormwater improvements. And then the 7th Avenue frontage will include also open spaces internal to the buildings that will then allow passage into the park and allow movement between the office buildings through their courtyards into Huntemer Park. They ultimately have a plan of connecting 7th Avenue, obviously with city approval, to the building across 7th Avenue, which they also own, with a large like mid-block crossing to allow easy to create a really walkable urban space, which is what the vision of the downtown 2000.
So what is the parking requirements for building that?
Parking, yeah, parking is,
It's really expensive. It's like
It's-
30,
yeah.
40 grand a
It is. So-
slot, so.
our parking standards are based on the number of bedrooms per unit. So for studios and 1 bedrooms, you're required 1 bedroom or 1 parking space. And then for anything above that, it gets to be like 1.5 to 2 parking spaces per unit. Because MJR is a major property owner in Woodland Square, they have access to almost all the parking. They've done a parking study to show the type of parking or the amount of parking that's available and how it can be used by both their office users as well as their residents.
Cause my concern obvious is you'll take up all the parking on street if you make it too expensive or you don't have enough, and
Yeah.
then suddenly the park is not available to the citizens around there.
Yeah.
So,
The other it's difficult. They're required to meet the parking standards that we currently have in place. The state is now with their midtown
know.
or their middle housing requirements are removing the requirements that are removing or not allowing the city to enforce excessive parking requirements. So that's another challenge we'll be facing. But MJR has provided a parking study which identifies all their parking amongst all their assets in the district and has shown that with cross parking agreements, which is what we required, they have enough parking for their residents on their adjacent properties, as well as their office users, because their times of parking are likely gonna be different.
And are these units gonna be middle income units? High
They're
income
gonna
units,
be,
mixed?
at this point, my understanding is they're gonna be market rate units.
Meaning $1,300, yeah, $1,300.
We'll,
A
I
month
mean,
of-
yeah, whatever the market is driving, yeah. We don't have requirements at this point in our zoning code and our zoning standards that they provide affordable housing. There are some incentives for them to do that, and they could still do that. They've got land use approval for the construction, and they could still, we have a multifamily tax exemption ordinance, which allows developers a tax abatement period for either 8 or 12 years, depending on whether or not they include multifamily units. So there's an incentive there.
Only in the Midtown area or is it throughout the city
It's just in Midtown that we have the multifamily tax
as
exemption.
you defined it right
Yeah,
now?
yeah. That's the target area. That doesn't mean that can't change in the future, but that's a council action.
Did you say there's underground parking?
There will be underground parking, underground and
another-
surface.
yeah.
Yep.
But it just speaks to the walkability of the area, you know, I mean, if we're striving to one of the things in the vision, which was making Lacey more walkable and usable, like, you know, you use the example of the roundabout and those kind of
Yeah.
things. You know, if you load it up with a lot of parking and forcing people to on-street parking, it doesn't really speak as well to
Well,
walkability.
removing parking and putting buildings close to the street, it forces people to use transit if they can. And what this is doing also is the goal would be for the folks that live in these buildings, they would work across the street in the other buildings, or they would work at City Hall or St. Martin's or for SPSCC, and they can accomplish all their day-to-day activities on foot and maybe not even need a car.
Or use public transit.
Or use public transportation,
is a block
exactly,
away.
yes.
Well,
yeah.
look at me. Well, look at me.
Yes, yes, yes. And then finally, they also own the 629 Woodland Square Loop building, which is this building down here. And this is an old state office building that I think has probably been vacant for 5 to 10 years. They purchased this building and it lends itself well to being converted into housing. And so they anticipate 51 units of apartments in this building.
Question,
Yes.
sorry. Right now, I don't know if you can answer this, what is the percentage or ratio of like actual owned homes by Lacey Homes? Versus apartment, because, you know, I'm seeing a dramatic amount of apartments and, you know, homeownership is the pathway to, you know, out of poverty. And I feel like I know that, you know, we're on a stress for housing, but I feel like we're just adding it to the fire.
This
Is like dramatically.
Yeah.
And even push is, this just is very all concerning to see the, you know, becoming unaffordable and pushing people out is what this all looks like to me.
I don't know the numbers specifically, but it's really funny that you asked that question because we were just talking about that. If my director is listening to this now or listens later, we just talked about this issue today in our meeting. And I don't know the numbers specifically, but we still have a higher percentage of homeowners. And she expressed the same concern. She met with an individual from the real estate industry yesterday and asked him to maybe collaborate with some of his colleagues about how do we increase the rates of home ownership. It's really difficult
Like
though.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, with
yeah.
the developers.
Yes.
But
yes.
it's just, I see a trend across this. That's all I'm saying,
Yeah.
you know, and you know,
That's a
not just the
huge-
apartment, but across the way that this is being developed, just feels like it's gonna push out a population of people in our community.
It's a huge topic of conversation, and the state legislatures also really engaged in housing at this point and trying to figure out ways to create affordable housing. So it's a huge issue, but we do need more housing, and in order to create this urban district that the city's envisioned for so many years, I mean, this is helping us to get to that vision, and hopefully there will be enough apartments at some point in the future that that market, a rent market, can also start to stabilize. Let's see, I think that's the last I have on projects. Yeah, so just with those projects in the immediate Hunter Park vicinity for Midtown, you can all probably see the big change that's gonna happen over the next few years as we move closer to implementation of that downtown 2000 plan. So as we consider Hunter Park and the improvements, we'll be moving carefully, I think, to continue, because we want to continue to offer the important community events that are central to Hunter Park and the values of our city, as well as to attract our new residents that these things are gonna bring into the city. And they'll provide, I mean, they'll bring, I think, they'll really start to help us achieve that goal that the council and the city developed in 2000, to really creating an identity. People will know Lacey is here, and hopefully it will also help create some other commercial and entertainment investments in the city. Maybe we start to see some changes to South Sound Center to get some more entertainment venues, centers, more things that are walkable and accessible to everybody in the community. With that, I can open it up to any other questions you guys might have, or any other concerns you might have. I will also put in a plug for the comprehensive plan update while I'm here. That's a process that's just started. I think that, and the housing plan update, and I think coming to those, the planning commission meetings as we start talking about those things. One of the things, I don't know if any of you have met Grant Beck, but one of his key phrases is everything is related to everything. And so the parks are related directly to housing, all these things are related, and coming in, putting your input in to the comprehensive planning process, I think is really important, especially your concerns about rent and home ownership. So keep an eye on those agendas. Those are Wednesday meetings, I think now, as well. You're opposite
Oh,
Wednesday,
right.
not,
Yeah,
not this
council
Wednesday, the
schedule
next
change,
Wednesday.
right.
Yep, yep.
And I want to say thank you to Sarah for, sharing all that good information with the board. And I'm personally excited about having, those climbing rocks are just they need to be replaced. They're just hitting their lifespan here, and how neat if we could actually have, some type of place that people get their feet wet. It's not, we're not talking like spray park, but some type of, cool water feature that maybe has an art component to it that people can enjoy when they come to the concerts in the park. I mean, we do a ton of not only our own events there, but we also have park rentals that take place there, as you know, like the big barbecue fest that the chamber puts on, and lots of different activities. And so I'm excited for the synergy that's going to be happening at that site. And yes, parking is going to be an issue. Parking's already an issue. Hopefully we can, really get people to more and more use the transit or bicycle or.
Is there a vision? I mean, there's so much leftover parking at the South Sound Center, the Sears side. I mean, essentially you could have like a Midtown shuttle that could just kind of go from that parking lot over and just kind of bus people into that one little area, and wide, parking spaces there that, is not very underutilized at the moment.
We haven't had talks about that, but I imagine like for events, something like that might be really.
We do that for 3rd of July.
Do you?
At Rainy
Oh,
Vista.
yeah, for Rainy Vista, yeah. Starting that conversation with the property owner at South Sun Center. I mean, potential for whoever parks there to also go wander into Target or at home, if at home ever opens, or
Yeah, I mean,
some
because
of the other businesses, yeah.
I think of, you know, I see multiple parking areas kind of strewn without that. And if there is a localized quick shuttle system just within that area between Fred Meyer, you know, and around that area, it could be very viable.
For sure. I'll write it down. Anybody have any other questions for me?
But I have to go back because I didn't do roll call. Forgot.
Oh, the introductions?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
introductions.
You wanna do quick introduction?
Yeah, before, cause Sarah probably believed you're not gonna stay for all hour. Yeah. I would like you. So. I
Better
know.
late
I
than never,
just-
right?
I totally spent, I just read everything and went right into there. My deepest apologies, everybody. So, we'll do roll call. Do you wanna start, Sarah, since you're kind of?
Sure. I'm Sarah Schelling. I'm a senior project planner with Community and Economic Development. I've actually been with the city for 18 years and did project planning up until about a year ago when I started to, by project planning, I mean land development, land use application review.
Thanks for being here.
Okay, this way. I'm Nathaniel Clay, I'm the youth commissioner.
Aaron Wheeler, Park Commissioner.
Lori Davies, Park Commissioner.
Bill Fosbury, Park Commissioner.
Scott Carter, supervisor with product and volunteers.
CP Lash, Recreation Manager.
Ryan Windrop, Executive Director with Senior Services for South Sound.
Amber Good, Vice Park Board Commissioner.
Commissioner Goodwin, Chair.
Gary Larson, Commissioner.
Jen Burbidge, Director of Parks, Culture and Recreation for the city.
Jenny Wilson, Senior Parks Planner.
Carter Gibson, Executive Assistant to Lacey Parks Culture and Recreation.
Erin Balcho, Museum Curator. Is there anyone online? Okay. All right, now I'm official. Thank you, everybody, for being patient with me. Appreciate it. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for all the information.
Appreciate
Appreciate it very much. Okay, now I'm all caught up. Okay, and now moving on to B, Senior Services for the South Sound Agreement for Sue.
As we just did introductions, I'm Sue Lash, Recreation Manager, and I'm gonna be working here with Ryan from the South Sound Senior Services. We, as the city of Lacey and South Sound Senior Services, have had a long-standing arrangement for programming. We, as most of you should know, we own the building where the Lacey Senior Services is housed. But they are gracious enough to do all of the programming and run everything that needs to happen for our Lacey seniors out of there. We've had a relationship with them for, I'm not sure exactly how many years. Our last agreement with them was in 2012. It was for 10 years. This one that we have opening into now will expire on 2028. It basically, we do all of the maintenance and making sure the building is up to date and is working well, and they do all of the programming for that. Part of that is one of the other areas, we have an agreement if there is a really hot weather, we have an SOP where we have a cooling space within the Lacey Senior Center where we coordinate with their staff and our staff to make sure that it's staffed so that anybody in the community has a place to go that they can cool off. So that's one of the great partnerships we do amongst many others as well. So what we do is we do have this agreement, which we would like to have a vote on to move forward with. It's pretty standard. We provide all the maintenance, they provide all the services, they have a multi-purpose room, classrooms, fitness center. The city also reserves the rights to approve any organizations or agencies. City reserves the right to coordinate the facility available space for use and rentals. We've also worked with them when we've had to shut down the community center for the floors, different things like that. We've been able to put some of our programs over in that senior center a couple evenings a week so that we didn't have to cancel them. So it's really been a great, partnership so far. And it is called the Virgil Clarkson Senior Center. Anybody have any questions or anything you'd like to add, Jed, on that, or?
No, I'll just add that, we're gonna hear from Brian next.
Yeah.
But we wanted to make sure and go over the contract first, and I mean, I guess I'll just say that I appreciate the partnership. It has been such a wonderful partnership, you know, where we can really bring two agencies to the table. And, you know, together we provide more for the community. So, and they, you know, Senior Services for South Sound, they cover Thurston County and Mason County, so they really know what they're doing. You know, and they can provide consistencies in that way. So, yeah, just appreciate them and
It's a very vital part of our
We're-
community.
yeah, we're happy to answer questions if you have them before taking action.
Are there any changes based on the last agreement, like any updates or anything that has?
The biggest
Yes.
changes of this agreement, well, there are quite a few, but a lot of it was centered around when it was in 2012 was when we did the expansion, and a lot of that was, a lot of the verbiage was dealing with the commerce grants and how we were having to, what we were having to do in order to comply. Those no longer are in place, so it is very slimmed down and very basic, easy at this point in time, because we don't have all that extra information that we had to have, because there was a lot that had to happen with those grants.
Thank you for doing that work. Appreciate it. On the title page for this, is this a generic contract or is this specific for senior center?
It's a generic contract.
People know the same thing. She's trying not to make people dizzy. Well, she finds the right spot.
Sorry.
No, you're
So agreement for services, is it?
It's
good.
standard.
She's gonna share the screen real quick.
Okay. It's just standard for anything and it tucks into wherever you need it to be, so it doesn't.
Right,
need to
and
be
then we
labeled.
have an exhibit that details out a little bit more, what's the date of the play or the location. That the city will perform all routine and emergency repairs on the premise,
Okay.
that they
Yeah.
will provide
Yeah, I read
staff
through it. I just want
facility.
the title of it.
yeah,
Kinda got-
it's pretty specific.
This is our boilerplate
Standard.
for agreement with nonprofit.
Okay. Yeah, cause I just saw senior services and it was down there and I was like, oh, what am I reading now? So I was just a little, cause it looks like it was tucked from something else, like it came off of some, instead of agreement for services for senior services of South Sounders.
Oh,
Something that had a title on it for what it went to. I didn't know if that matters. Generic.
yeah, this is our, from our legal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I have nothing. That's all. That was my only question. So,
Brian, would you like to say a few words or?
Well, I thought we were gonna take action.
Oh, yeah, yep,
Okay.
if it pleases the board.
yeah, it pleases the board. So we will need a motion for the senior services for South Sound agreement. Do I hear a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Larson. Do I have a second?
I second.
Oh. You want one of those?
Take that one.
Okay, Commissioner Fosbury's got it. Okay. We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the senior services South Sound agreement, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. There is an approval for the senior services for South Sound agreement. And now Brian, your turn. Thank you for being here with us this evening.
Well, thank you for inviting me and it's a pleasure to be here. I am really here to celebrate this partnership. And I hope, I've said to Jen before, I hope that all of you really understand how beautiful it is. If you haven't been to your senior center recently, go there any day, especially between, say, 10:30 and 2. And it is elbow room only. It's packed with people talking, playing cards, doing Zumba in one room and the Brighter Days program. And it's just every room is filled with activity. And if you spend time there and talk to people, it's there. I mean, the word beautiful is the best word that comes to mind. Meaningful. We were having a meeting before this meeting with a few of us about battling isolation and loneliness in our community. And that's in the DNA of our organization, and I would argue for much of the city's operations too, at least with this board. We celebrated our 50th year last year, so we were founded in 1973. I have Virgil Clarkson, who was on our board until the end, sitting on my shoulder, and Eileen McKenzie Sullivan. I didn't create this partnership, but I've been here only a mere 4 years and get to inherit it. And this lease renewal is something to celebrate. It is just an incredible thing that I think the city of Lacey at large should be proud of. It's a model for other partnerships. It's just, I can't say enough good things about it. I want to publicly say that working with Jen is fantastic. She never fails to be responsive, to be helpful, to be professional. She, friendly, not just professional, but friendly and warm. And so when she needs anything from me, I believe she gets that. And if I need something from her, even if it's not her job to do it, she makes sure that I get in touch with people that I need to be in touch with. So in a sense of a true partnership, right? We have a role to play as an organization, as a 501c3, and you have a role to play as a city in that regard. And I don't know where it's weak, is what I would say. I don't have any criticisms of it, which is a remarkable thing to say, because I wouldn't, that's a remarkable thing to say. So I'm here to celebrate this partnership. I'm glad that it renewed for more than just 1 year, so you don't have to hear me say the same thing again next year. We are thriving as an organization. The Lacey Senior Center, the Virtual Clarkson Lacey Senior Center is busier than it's ever been. And the final thing I'd like to say is that it was baked into the original plans. It's been expanded once, and there's a phase 3. And Jen and I are just beginning the conversation around what does the phase 3 look like? What would it look like? There's already plans, it's part of the original planning documents, and exists. Help me out, Jen. It exists on the city's.
The concept plan was created, and it's actually mentioned, and you'll probably recall from the comprehensive plan as one of the items that needs to be looked at here in the next, 6 or so years.
Yeah, so at this point, what I would share with all of you is that it's so busy there that it's becoming actually a safety hazard. These are seniors, including many people who use walkers to get around. And it's during lunchtime, it's so congested to move around the space that we already have to keep certain groups. We don't let certain groups eat lunch in the dining hall, because like the Brighter Days community, because it's too dangerous for them to get, and too busy for them to, because they're not always sound on their feet, to get to the dining hall and back. And so the conversations we're starting now about the phase 3 expansion, whatever that looks like, is timely. Because the seniors in Lacey, the community here is growing. It's the fastest growing demographic in this area. And that's, some of us will be there soon. I'm not an ageist. I'm happy to say I'm 55 years old. I'm not there yet. But I will be there soon. So we would be wise to have the foresight that Virgil in his time showed, to prepare for what's coming. And I will be there every step of the way to work with the city, to do whatever we can do to be a voice to advocate for that. So any questions about what we do or how we do it, or the good things that happen there? We are often, whatever you think we do more than that. Whatever you think we do, it's not all we are. I said earlier that we're like the elephant that everyone touches blindfolded. So people think we're a rope when they touch our tail, and they think we're a tree when they touch our leg, but we're an elephant. So we are the largest senior serving organization in the state, 501c3 nonprofit in the state outside of King County. There's nothing like us in Tri-Cities or Spokane or Vancouver or Bellingham or anywhere else. And being big doesn't matter, but it's about the number of programs we offer. And so seniors in this community are, not to pat ourselves on the back, but we just offer a lot of ways to stay active and to live a high quality of life, which is our mission. So, any questions at all?
Hi, Lion, right? Do we have a casino there or card night?
The closest thing to a casino is bingo. And it's adult bingo. You have to be 18 or over to get in.
Thank you for what you do there. I really appreciate the senior center. I've been there many a time and I appreciate it before I got busy, but I will go back. It's Bus Route 67. So I ride with a lot of the senior community members and they love it. They always have good things to say. So appreciate all the work you do there. So
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
And I'll chime in that Brian is an excellent partner as well. So appreciate that. And we do have, they have the 2022 annual report here, but there's also gonna be your next one coming out, and so happy to share if the board would like to see any of the information, so.
And our website has a lot of information on it, and I'm sorry I didn't bring more of these 22 reports, but they feel a little outdated, it's, 24.
For sure, and we appreciate you coming in person for this
course.
monumental occasion, so.
I will go home and send an email to my board that we have a new lease with the senior center.
And hopefully we'll see them at the Lacey and Tune. Buses can take them all to Lacey and Tune. In senior center.
Oh, the concerts in the park?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Panorama, Rulon, everybody comes over. We'll just, yeah, more the merrier. Get to see me out there. I'll be
Yep.
dressed up. No.
You'll be dancing.
I'll be dancing.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Brian, have a good evening.
Have a great evening. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
All right. Moving on to Parks Board message from Jenny Wilson, our senior parks planner.
Okay, so we have your Parks Board message. Was enclosed in your packet. I won't go into reading it all. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to look at it. It's an overview of the highlights and accomplishments from the last year. Two most significant were the comp plan update and work towards community park design. If you have any questions, but we are looking for action on this item tonight. Then our next item on the agenda is the full annual report, so we'll go over that one.
All right.
So do you want, you need action first on that?
Yeah, action.
Yep.
First one,
Did
sorry.
everybody get a chance to review that in their packets for the Parks Board message? Okay, I know you got a booklet. Did you do it? We're gonna approve it. Okay.
No pressure.
So I'll need a motion to approve the Parks Board message. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the Parks Board message, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion carries that the Parks Board message is approved. Thank you, Jenny. And moving on to our 2023 annual report.
So the annual report, I believe, is in your packet, but then you'll pull it up. That's just the front page of it. We'll go through.
We just gotta share screen so public can see it too.
You share. So we'll move on to the next page. That's just our cover page.
I
Picture
love
from
that
Lacey Spring
picture.
Fun Fair. The next was just kind of, it's nothing that's really changed, is our parks inventory. There's 26 developed parks. 35 park properties, 9 not fully developed. Talks about the trails. We have 4 trails, or 7.2 miles. We have 12 baseball, softball fields. I don't think you need to read through all of those. You'll have it in your packet. It kind of goes through our inventory. And then it talks a little about the different facilities. The community center and the Jacob Smith House, or, oh, excuse me, we're on the rack first. The rack had over 90,000 people come visit it last year. Hours that were rented, there was 11,389 and a half hours rented for users and for tournaments. Out of the year, there was something going on in the facility for 345 days. And for our recreation revenue, we brought more in last year than we have in the past. We brought in $513,223 dollars. That doesn't include like the PFD money or the money that comes over from lodging tax. Those are rentals, leagues, when we do a special event, any sponsorships we have. That's where that $513,000 comes from. Next page. Talks about some of our recreation programs. One of the neat things, we had 284 and 425 hours of recreation generated, which included events. Participation events there was 74,361 hours. We had all kinds of events going on. We had 35 events in total offered. Recreation programs, we had 61,810 hours generated for just recreation. 8,213 people participated. We ran 661 classes, and recreation program classes brought in 628,000 $927. The next is a new one we added this year. We haven't had this in our annual report before. These are the sponsorships. They include in-kind and regular sponsorships as well as banners that happened at the RAC. They brought in $66,000 and $70 in special events. RAC banners brought in $11,000. And we had a total of 48 different sponsors. And if you look at the list, it's pretty impressive that we have that many people that are wanting to help us out to make sure that we're successful. Our financial assistance program, we brought in 10,600, or we allocated that much money. $7,874 were actually used. We had 57 unique households and 60 unique participants. So we'll start to continue with that, continue putting that into the brochure. Next, we're gonna look at the museum. Erin had 930 visitors, 323 virtual programs, 439.25 volunteer hours. And the nice ones, 70,830 in grants and donations. Community center, the use is right back up pretty much to where it used to be. Community center was used 316 days last year. Jacob Smith has 151. Individual bookings for the rental facilities was 578. We had 651 park shelter reservations and about 2,264 hours of shelter use. And the revenue between the Lacey Community Center, Jacob Smith House and shelters was 337,497. These are some of the areas that were given to us from Jamie from the park maintenance. There was 78 parks, trails, and undeveloped properties that they helped maintain. There were 615 trees that were planted in parks and streets. 83 hazardous trees were removed. 610 trees were pruned. They generated 1,113 work orders. They removed 541 yards of just leaves from the parks and right-of-ways. And there were 68 different types or different times when they had to do graffiti removal due to vandalism. And the rapid response team removed 18.27 tons of debris. That's a lot of debris.
That is.
I'm not going to go through these in detail. It is in your packet. It just kind of talks about the different hours and the different things, the different tasks that the parks maintenance does and how that all added up. Some of the highlights we can talk about from the park maintenance, there was the installation of the 80-foot pole and platform for osprey nest at Watchers Park. They went through all of the sand and the sand volleyball courts to reduce the compaction of Rainier Vista by 120%. So they were pretty hard, pretty compact. So that was pretty good. They repaired the bulkhead, supporting the bridge at Woodland Creek. Improved the pickleball courts at Lake Point by repainting the lines and installing a fence. I've already talked about the graffiti and the leaves, designed a new park roll signs. Tree work, they did quite a bit of planting and removing. I don't want to go through all of that. The rapid response talked about the tons of debris removed. They cleaned up 36 campsites, cleaned up 191 roadside cleanups, sanitized and returned 1,015 shopping carts. It's a lot of shopping carts, guys. And they removed 52 hypodermic needles during their cleanup. Some of the things that went on at the RAC is the parking lots were converted to LED, resurfaced the basketball courts. As some of you may know, we began construction in December of the parking lot on the corner. They're doing a great job. It's going real quick. Our park maintenance also helped do the holiday lights display at Huntermer Park. We did the master planning, finishing up the master planning for the Greg Cuio Park. They resurfaced the Rainier Vista Skate Park. And Thurston County Pickleball Association committed $25,000 toward constructing some new courts at Rainier Vista, adjacent to our existing courts. Park enhancements. We hosted the RAC hosted the 2023 Cascade National Championships. They had 70+ teams from across the country. So we began the parking lot. The rec won the bid for the 10U USA Fast Pitch Tournament. There was over 3,000 individual bookings at the rec. There was 31 Little Lacey youth baseball teams, which comprised of 278 players. 26 youth basketball teams for 252 players. We added an archery tag and a cross-country class and pickleball leagues. And the rec had 623 shelter reservations. Some different grants we were awarded. We got 1,500 diversity for local history grant to fund oral history project. We received $50,000 from Lacey Historical Society. We served $5,000 from Lacey Historical Society for the historic marker for the Jacob Smith House. $12,500 in grants from the Nisqually Charitable Fund. And part of our summer lunch playground pals, we received $42,000, which was in conjunction with North Thurston Public Schools, and it was through the Washington Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. As you know, we partnered with South Sound Senior Services for the cooling shelters. We added the sensory recovery room in the Lacey cultural celebration, and Lacey Spring Fun Fair has been a really good addition. It's allows a place for kids that are really get hyperstimulated in order to kind of relax and be able to get back on track. We had 657 campers to the day camp 2 sites. We have been continue to expand our sponsorship. Sports Commission, we're working with them, and they do our economic impact for the tournaments out at the rec. And for 2023, it was $15,285,110 for the local economy, which is a great thing to see. The Park Foundation of Thurston County donated $6,000 towards a financial assistance program. The museum held 9 history talks, serving 505 people. They opened a Journey Stories, a Smithsonian poster exhibit, which visited by 414 museum visitors, and they launched Stories of the South Sound Oral History Project in order to fill the gaps in museum research and collection. Our partnerships, we've got obviously St. Martin's, we've got North Thurston Public Schools, we have the South Sound Chamber, South Sound Senior Services, the Park Foundation, as well as South Puget Sound Community College. We had the value of about $67,097 in volunteer time. There was 2,711 hours at events and programs and 652 hours in the parks. Kind of looking at expense for expenses, recreation, programming wise, it was a little over 2.5 million. And park maintenance is 2.3 million. And the regional athletic complex was 1.3, a little over 1.3 million. And the community center, Jacob Smith House, and the museum combined was a little over 1 million. And so that's our expenses for those.
And I like this slide because, you know, parks maintenance is in a different department. They're in public works. And so this gives us like, what does it actually cost holistically to run Lacey's park systems and programs? So there's your answer, almost $7.3 million.
Thank you very much for your Parks and Commissioners message on the next page. I'm not going to read that for you. And then we had the message from Jen and Scott Egger on the final end of that for this year's annual report.
I want to thank Sue for putting all of that great information together. Great job.
Thanks, Scott, over here to doing all that, figuring out all the numbers.
Wow, thank you so much. Wow, that's impressive. Numbers are awesome.
Oh, he's quick.
Yeah, and when you read them, it's really,
Riveting.
it's riveting.
Good job, though.
Yeah, data.
I'm gonna give credit where it's due. He did amazing things.
It's wonderful.
Coming up with
It looks great.
the numbers.
Yeah, I love it. It was great. It was a great overview for the year. So this is an actionable item, our 2023 annual report. Do I have a motion to approve the 2023 annual report?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I will.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the annual report before we move on? Sorry about that. Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the 2023 annual report, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion carries. The 2023 annual report is approved. Thank you,
And
everyone.
we will get that posted online.
Is that going into our mail too? Will we get a copy of it, or does it just come online?
Hard copy?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if it was part of the Lacey Life or.
No, we do very little hard copy
Okay.
items anymore. Although if somebody wanted a copy, we would definitely print it for them. But yeah, it goes out on the website. We can also do a social media post to drive people to the website. And if you have other suggestions on how to get it out there, we mostly just want people to have access to the information, so.
If I could get one flyer and then like a Facebook, maybe something put on Facebook, and I'll share it.
Yeah.
If I could get
Now
just
that
one.
y'all approved it,
Yes, or maybe a couple copies, so I can share with community.
yeah, we want 2 hard copies.
That'd be great.
Okay.
I would love that. Thank
You
you.
might want to send it to sponsors too, so the sponsorships, maybe they'll renew, maybe there'll be something additional this year, if they see a copy of their
That's
names.
a good idea. Yes, that's true. We did add sponsors. Yeah, that was actually a new addition this year, is listing out the sponsorships.
Are we going to reach out for new sponsors? Are we gonna keep doing that? Keep reaching?
Oh,
to
yeah,
constantly-
oh, yeah.
Constantly? Oh, Sue says constantly.
We're constantly looking for new sponsors.
In Belize, you'll
We're
be
in
doing.
business here.
That's true.
Yeah, no,
It helps us offset.
She's on break.
Hey,
Alright, alright. Moving on to our,
Oh, yeah. That's right.
we're gonna move on to our new staff introduction of Scott Carter, by Sue.
I'd like to introduce Scott Carter. He is one of our newest members of our team. We stole him from St. Martin's, and he is doing the aquatics and volunteers, Jenny's old position. I'll let him introduce himself and give him a little bit of history of him.
Scott Carter, you guys know I'm supervisor of Fox Volunteers. I spent the last 5 years at St. Martin's University coaching track and field. The past 3 years, I was the head coach of the track and field program, so I got some experience being a supervisor and working with people underneath me and working with large groups. And then especially large groups in the young adult area, which in this position now with aquatics, most of the part-time employees I work with are young adults. And so it's been a really nice transition to, I've gotten a lot of support from Lacey Parks and Rec and the department. It's been a huge learning process. I'd like to thank Sue so much for helping me in the learning process, and thanks for Jenny for helping me. She's basically done both jobs, and really helped me as I've tried to learn what the aquatics program really goes into, and then building us a foundation for our volunteers program, which is really exciting, and hoping to develop that and start to put things out in 2025.
He's done a great job.
Thank you.
You didn't have to increase your commitment.
No, not at all.
Great. We're happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, everybody. Jenny, I'm sure you're happy.
You know, Scott is very, very positive. He's hit the ground running. He's wonderful. He'll be great. He is great.
Yeah, big shoes to fill.
Huge shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jenny's great too, but I like you where you're at now. And
I
I'm
like where
glad
I'm
you're
at now too.
It's a win for everybody. Wonderful. And then we have new staff introduction for Carter Gibson from Jen Village.
Oh, good. Carter's gonna join us over here.
Hi, Carter.
So I'd like to introduce Carter Gibson. Yep, one of our other new employees. Let's see, I think Scott started on the 8th of January. Carter started on the 22nd, so they're 2 weeks apart, but yeah, so Carter, as you know, is the executive assistant to the director and also to our department, supporting our entire department. And Carter brings 4 years of administrative municipal experience with him to the city, in addition to almost a decade of campaign management and related experience. Many of you met Carter at the joint work session. That was his second day on the job. But that was great. We didn't want to miss the opportunity for him to see what the joint work session is all about and at least get an introduction to some of you that were in attendance. So as executive assistant, Carter will have two main functions, supervising the front office staff and operations there. And then secondly, providing administrative support for myself, and also part of that is overseeing admin support for the whole department. So some of the things he'll be overseeing are just a really crucial role with you all, with the Parks Board and also the Historical Commission in setting and coordinating agendas and packets, doing the minutes and following up on items after the meetings. He'll also be directly responsible for the financial assistance program. He's gonna be responsible for the agreement and deliverables that we have with the Park Foundation. So I'm really excited for his help in that area. And then for now, he's doing our monthly e-newsletter, that will transition over to another new staff that we'll be having, coming on board, for some of the marketing stuff. But I just really want to thank Carter for jumping in just with both feet and really, just developing great relationships right off the bat, with our staff. And, you know, he's not only smart and organized, but like I said, he's got the interpersonal skills as well. So it's been really super great already for our department, even just over a month in. So really appreciate it. He's got great perspective coming in from the outside. He's already making observations and recommendations to help us with, you know, efficiencies. So yeah, super helpful, and just appreciate everything that you've done. So, and I've asked Carter to share a little bit about himself too, so you can get to know him better.
Sure. I feel like I don't know what else to add. Thank you for that, Jen. And I also want to thank Aaron, Jenny, and Sue here tonight as well, for helping me get caught up to speed on all things Lacey Parks. It's hard to believe that we're the middle of week 7. So yeah, first saw you all on my second day, but middle of week 7 now. But yeah, like Jen said, a lot of my experience is related to the work that I am doing here naturally. I worked in the Midwest in a admittedly a much larger municipality, but learning the differences of having the small versus the big, and the uniqueness of both. And then prior to that, I also had large scale like university experience, very different department, but similar to Scott in that way. And so between the municipal experience, the university experience, the campaign experience, admittedly, all of those things are looking to serve some sort of constituent base or customer base, and they're all divvied up into a bunch of silos and have a bunch of processes and procedures that make them all run. So excited to bring that experience here and to my new home state of Washington. So thank you.
Happy to have you both. Thanks for being here, Carter, and coming all the way from Missouri.
Yeah.
That's a trip.
A little bit,
Yeah.
36 hours of one,
That's a couple states.
just a few.
That's a, yeah. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thanks for taking care of us during the work session. That was a handful. I know individually I'm a handful just to keep me wrangled in, but I appreciate you handling it.
I'm sure Jen can say that I'm a handful too, so.
Are we all in our own ways?
Yeah.
Oh, any questions for Carter?
I'm just happy.
Yeah, same.
We got
Same.
people, we got people, yay. That are
Happy to be
engaged,
here.
yeah, engaged and ready to be here. Happy to be here, yeah. Thank you for being in Lacey. So we're gonna move on to the alcohol policy update with Jen.
Yeah, thank you. I've got this one. Included in your packet is the policy that allows a special event permit to be issued for alcohol beverage sales and consumption. And the locations that the permit and the policy currently allow are Hunterman Park, Woodland Creek Park, and the Regional Athletic Complex. And some of you have approved alcohol permits, and so you're familiar with the process. At the time this policy was developed, Depot Park wasn't in existence. So staff is recommending Depot Park as a location that should be added to this policy. And as you know, the food truck plaza is there. There's many market events that take place there and rentals. And so for that reason, staff thinks this would be a great location that event organizers might request to get an alcohol permit. And we have had some interest from user groups expressed. So approving the update to this policy would make it possible for a user group to apply for the permit. Approving this policy doesn't approve an exact, a particular event. They would have to have, you know, a nonprofit organization that's applying for that alcohol permit, which would also come across your desk before that got approved, after staff had reviewed the permit. So, basically, right, it's just adding Depot Park as an approved location. Happy to answer questions you might have.
I had one on the fencing. Obviously they're panels. And I think I would put in there that they have to connect the panels because those little feet things they put on, just pick them up and you can open them.
Oh, okay, which page is that?
Oh, I saw it. The fencing department. Oh, right here. I didn't quite understand double fence at 42. And then there's 6-foot fence.
Which page is that on?
Oh, it's
Page 8. Physical structure. It's like in part A, the alcoholic beverage area must be completely fenced in with at least a 6-foot high chain link fencing or double 42-inch high fencing. When the 42-inch tall fencing is used, the second 42-inch high fence shall be installed around the outside of the interior. Oh yeah, I think that's what you're getting at, right?
well, if it's 6-foot panels, that's what they rent. The joints, you just depends on what you know, I'm just saying wire tied the joints. So somebody can't pick them up and get in there.
Oh, I think it's implied. Do you recall with like the ones at Huntemer, the fencing?
Yeah, it's always a tall, I mean, they're connected, it's just a tall, but they're not individual, they're connected. All of them have had connections. To it, yeah,
And then the police department has to come out and approve.
and inspect it.
So.
A completely fenced, yeah, it's implied that the panels are connected, right?
Okay.
But if you have a word suggestion, I mean, you all can decide if you want to update as amended.
Maybe just state in there that panel connections need to be tied together. I don't know what the word, or they probably use zip ties to do it.
I think, I mean, it says panel connection though. I mean, it's like, it's pretty implied that the panels need to be, we don't wanna bind it to one certain type of connection based on, I mean, there could be many different ways that they could be approved to bind. If we define it too close, I think that might actually hinder the ability for them to be able to do it correctly. If we say zip ties, then.
What we do is we tie them together, so
Right.
people can't just pick them up.
And I don't think any of those actually are. I mean, these are because they're pretty well connected. I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think Jen's right with how it's worded. I mean, the implication that they
Securely
are to
fastened
be
to
secure.
upright posts. It says securely fastened to
Yeah.
upright posts.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with Lacey Police coming out
Yeah,
there.
and inspecting it.
Yeah.
Doing the review at the beer garden, to make
Yes.
sure that nobody can get in.
Yeah.
The only thing with the depot is that it's a triangle, so it's trafficked, heavy trafficked on all sides. So as long as the police department says, I'm fine, as long as they put their, I'm.
They would, yeah, they would have to have a separate,
Yeah.
they would do the whole depot in, they'd have to have a
Segment, yeah.
section that would be designated as the beer garden per se.
That's what I'm envisioning.
And this is the policy, and then we've had the actual application in here a number of times, and if we want to review that again, we can. But it goes into a lot more detail on
Yes.
how everything has to be.
And then just since we're on the topic, we are going to, we have a better format for policies now. We've done it with the enhancements program that you guys all saw and with the financial assistance and the sponsorship. So we're moving toward getting all our policies in the same format. So this one will be updated. It won't be the content. It will just be the look. So that's also coming. But this would give us the ability going into the season, the busy season, of having the depot as an option. So would looking for action tonight.
Yeah, are there any questions for this one, alcohol policy concerns? Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the alcohol policy update. Thank you, Commissioner Wheeler, second by Commissioner Larson. All those in favor of the alcohol policy update, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion carries that the alcohol policy is updated.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Moving on to H, you're talking a lot tonight, Sue. I'm so proud of you.
I know, and I have to get them in pack.
Financial assistance program policy. This is our added agenda item.
Just gotta give a little bit of a background on this. It's a very small change for now, but we redid this policy last year with the idea that we were going to go back through and kind of review and take a look at it. One of the things that came out glaring is we were giving out or allocating a lot of funds and those funds weren't being used. As an example, last year out of our main sponsor scholarship, well now financial assistance, we allocated $69,314. There was only $45,092 of that used, which left $23,000.46 that we lost. Because if it's not used at the end of the year, wiped off the accounts, it doesn't go back into a scholarship, it just goes bye-bye. So that's a third of our funds weren't used. We plan on spending quite a bit more time looking at this. Carter and I kind of started looking at it, we'll be looking at it a little bit more. And one of the things that we came up with is instead of saying, I'm gonna give you 200,000 or $200, and you may only want a $40 class. We're wanting to change the wording to say that we want to give up to $200, but this is as it is right now, because it's on the trimesters, and this is winter, spring, and then summer and fall, or winter, yeah, is the $100 for each applicant. Even this year, I had 18 applicants. We've allocated $3,100 so far. And out of that, only $1,300 has been used. Not saying they won't use it, but there's an awful lot of money that we can't give out to people that really need it because it's sitting on somebody's account.
So what you're saying is instead of you're gonna get $200, you'll
It'll
get
be based on the program and
up
it can go
to the
up
program,
to,
okay.
they can get up to $200 during that time frame.
Yeah, so I'll chime in just a little bit. This is like a quick fix
Yeah.
of, that will allow us to do what Sue's saying, which makes sense. With Carter coming on and overseeing this program, he hasn't even been trained on it yet, let alone had the opportunity to like do some research, and we know that there needs to be some changes. I think we told you all that. Yeah, totally understandable. So like Sue said, this would just be, it's just a
It's just a
tiny
quick
wording change that
fix.
will allow more access for people. But I do want to clarify, I think the 69,000, you might be saying the scholar or the sponsorship.
No, that was out of the general fund because we overspent it. Because when I talked to Chelsea, we knew we had
$69,000?
6,900, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
That's what I was looking for, okay.
6,900.
Well, because we also
It's on
brought in
extra here.
69,000 in sponsorships, so I
No,
thought maybe you were.
$6,934, sorry about that.
Thank you, no, it's okay, I just want to make sure.
Normally, we have it 66.4 or 68, and we overspent it in December to give kids scholarships for winter camp because we knew we had so much on the books at that point in time that we're not gonna be spent.
Yeah.
And we did research on this already though, right? With the scholarship stuff or the.
We did a couple of years ago and put this in place, and it's just not.
It sounds like an unforeseen
Yeah.
uh
Well, I thought
issue.
Sarah didn't do any before I thought we had like a.
She never redid it. She did an analysis of like she looked back and gave you the numbers from like 2021, 2022. And we did make some updates so that there could be more access for, I think what you're remembering, access for camps and working with the school counselors. So we did add another section, yes, but at this point, it's just an issue, as Sue stated, with money being allocated on folks' account and then that goes away, but nobody else was able to use those funds. So it's just
And then we had a
nuance.
question about the household, right? That there was more than one person that was signing up in the household. I think there was some discussion about that too.
Yeah, there might have been some discussion about that.
Yeah.
but-
At this point in time, some of them that we've allocated were allocated right after the first of the year, and now we're into March and they still haven't used any of it.
And I do want to clarify, we don't actually lose the money. So like if it was supposed to have come out of the general fund, it's
Well-
still in the general fund, it just wasn't used for scholarships. And then also if it comes from a private source, like we get the money from the Park Foundation, that money can be used later. It's not money that's going away. Correct.
But if it's,
Our department loses.
if it's even if it's a restricted, say we're using the park scholarships like we did last year. If that money is still on their account, it goes away. It doesn't go back into the park foundation. If it's allocated, it goes.
No,
Yes, Chelsea, I bet that's not.
the money doesn't disappear. It was money that could have been used for another
Right,
family.
but it doesn't go if it's what I'm trying to say is, say you have $1,000 that wasn't used. And it was from the restricted funds, the
Yeah.
park foundation, instead of it being able to go back into the park foundation. Cause we didn't use it. It's gone. It doesn't go back into the park foundation.
You guys figure that. out.
Yeah,
The-
sorry.
the Updated policy is fine.
Yeah, the policy's okay though. That just,
That's the way
Yeah.
that's how she explained it to me is because it gets wiped off their.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
that doesn't affect the policy, that
No,
understanding
No,
of.
that's,
Okay.
yeah.
all
It
right.
doesn't go back to the, like she explained it to me, it's not going back to the account.
Interesting. Okay.
That would be interesting.
Follow up on that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it was so discouraging because it was just money that got left.
It's just laundered.
Yeah, and then at any,
General fund.
well, and at any time, at the end of the day,
Okay.
it needs to be used. I mean, that's what, that's the
Yeah.
bottom line.
On parks.
Yeah,
only,
parks,
not-
yeah, we need to use.
Not back to the district, exactly. Or when streets paved with that.
Yeah.
Potholes.
Alright, any more on the financial assistance program policy before we move on a motion? Okay. Motion for approval of the financial assistance policy program. Do I have a motion?
I move.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the financial assistance program policy, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion carries that there we have a approval for the financial assistant program policy. Thank you, Sue, for all you did this evening. That's a lot of letters.
She's not done yet. There's more.
But wait, there's more. Okay, okay. So I'm reports for the commissioners. Anybody have any reports from the commission?
As an update for my work project, I did make the statement that I was going to begin the cleanups in March, but due to some complications in scheduling and weather, the first one will be early April instead, so.
Alright,
May I temporarily just excuse myself from the room really quickly?
yes, please do.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else for the commissioners? Okay, I have a couple things. So the walk and roll program, they were hoping to hold a few events this spring, summer. So I was gonna send information back and forth with Jenny. I spoke with her on the our pre-check-ins. So they're gonna come back with some more details for us and hopefully our April agenda. But they want to look at some of the parks that we have here for doing an earn a bike session for school age students. And then one bike summer camp for 8 to 10-year-olds and learn to ride bike classes. So will be looking, who works at Walk and Roll for the program. They will be doing rounds at like Wonderwood Park or at Rainier Vista, Woodland Creek. I gave some recommendations where there's facilities that they have restrooms, access to multiple parks. I thought it would be a good one. Huntermore would be another one that they were looking at. So there's more to follow on that, but they need to come up with kind of a program for us to actually look at. So more to follow on that. And then, I wanted to do a congratulations to Jen Burbidge for being the South Sound Exceptional Award winner in May. May 4th. We will be having a dinner on May 4th at Indian Summer, so tickets will be on sale so that you can come and celebrate Jen. Courtney Wells, who you heard of this evening, is also going to be there. So there's a lot of people that you heard of this evening, 20 women in the South Sound area who won, who are part of your community in the South Sound. So congratulations, Jen. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
I've been working on all the PowerPoint presentations. I get emotional every time I read all the women who do so much in our community. So thank you all for your work. And just a little update on the Lacey Food Bank. In 2023, our final totals, we served 2,300 we had 2,300 individual volunteers that donated 51,000 hours to help sort, distribute, and assist community members with food insecurity in Thurston County. So I'm really proud of that work because it's amazing work that they do at the food bank, and it helps people offset if they can't afford other bills, and it keeps them in their housing. So it's a really great project. If you ever get a chance to go over there, please do so. And that's all I have.
Question on the food bank,
Yes.
they have to have health cards to handle food?
No.
Push that.
We're just doing produce. Yeah, we do produce, a lot of produce, and then everything is in coolers. So we do wear gloves.
Yeah.
We do wear gloves. Yeah. And you do have to do your orientation. You have to learn. Yeah. You would have to if you wanted to volunteer. You specifically. All right. See, recreation manager?
I don't have a lot to say. I'm really happy and excited about our new staff and everything that they're doing. Camps are getting ready to go. Everybody's getting all of their summer staff geared up. All the job announcements are out and everything's just moving along. We did some interviews for Jordy's position and did not come up with a candidate they were happy with. So there's 4 out of the 9 that they did not interview that they're going to interview. And if that doesn't go well, then we will not get a settle. We'll go back out. So more to tell on that. And yeah, that's it. I'll think of you all in the nice warm weather.
Thanks. That's awesome. Are you sure you don't want me to meet you there?
Sure.
Okay. Where are you going?
Belize.
Oh, nice. Leaving all this beautiful weather behind.
Yeah. Did we get a new date for the bench dedication?
Yeah, not yet. It's on my report.
I was wondering.
Yes.
I'll let you know. So Parks Maintenance Supervisor?
We'll be giving Jamie's report.
Okay. Bye, Sue. Have a great trip. Be safe.
So they have 104 trees were pruned at Rainier Vista. They installed a new flagpole at Rainier Vista baseball fields. They repaired the portable mounds and attached infields for the upcoming baseball and softball season. They're installing the new park rule signs that I'm well aware of. They are renovating the parking lot landscape at Woodland Creek Park. Repaired the damaged gate at Long Lake Park. Took down holiday lights for the season. They lowered the benches at Bush Park to meet ADA standards. They renewed the security contract with our security company to lock and unlock the gates. And then their staff attended 400 hours of training combined to maintain pesticide applicator licenses, arborist certification, and ongoing professional development on pruning, herbicide, and park resource management. Wide array of things that they do.
Wow. Thank you, Jim. Jenny.
Thank Jamie.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Yes, please say thank
They
you.
do amazing work.
They do. Yeah, they did all the pressure washing all through the side. It was great. It's beautiful. I love walking. Senior Parks Planner.
This is me. So one construction project that is happening is there's a public works project that has started in Meridian Park. They're constructing a water production well, and it's located in the wooded southeast corner of the park. It's along Denny Drive in Lynn Court. It's supposed to have started in mid-February with tree removal and site preparations. And drilling will take place in the spring. So they're clearing an access point that will be approximately 120 feet by 120 feet for the project. So wanted to make you aware of it. That we did do a Facebook post. We have a sign up at the park. So it could be a little bit exciting to people taking out some trees within the park. So we did do our best to let people know. It has been a project that's been in the works for a long time. So that might have been surprise to folks. So also construction is the rack kiosk project is moving along. The group is creating the kiosk at the fairgrounds. Staff at the rack has moved irrigation lines, and they're working to hire someone to do the concrete base and footings. So I think they'll probably be working on hopefully getting someone to do that in April. I'm working on getting a request for qualifications out to hire a consultant to do a wetland and critical area study for the area around the McKinney House at Lake Lois. So this is the first report that we need to assess what we can do in that area, figure out what to do with the McKinney House and property. And let's see what else. We're also working on a bridge replacement at Woodland Creek Park. Working with Public Works, they have moving this project along. There's been prefabricated bridge options that are under review. So just working towards that. Also working with Public Affairs on a draft of the off-leash dog signage, and hope to have that for you at our next meeting in May.
Rainier Vista Dog Park was in full glory the other day with about 6 or 8 dogs running in the ball field. Having a great time.
It's a huge challenge. It's a huge challenge that there's no easy answer for that one, unfortunately.
It's tough to deal with.
Yeah.
Unless you park somebody right down there to.
Right.
I thought about saying something, but I didn't know whether it was really appropriate.
Did you see the study? Did you get to see the study, Lori, that they came out? Oh, you gotta see
I
it.
think we suggested if you wanna watch that one,
Oh, okay.
well, there's a couple different Parks Board meetings. The one where the Animal Services Director came to the Parks Board
I'll
meeting,
send you the meetings and the links to where those are.
Oh, okay.
One with the
and then Jenny did an analysis, yeah. That'd be super helpful as a new commissioner, yeah.
I mean, it's just, I mean,
It's a constant problem.
I'm a dog lover and I walk my dog through there a lot, but it's just pretty interesting. I mean, people really treat it as a dog park.
right, and obviously, you guys get the correspondence. It's pretty significant that that's the hot topic of a lot of complaints, and it's, yeah, I've done a lot of research on what other agencies are doing, and there's no good answer. It's a problem everywhere.
Well, that new dog park off of Yonge, is that Olympia? Did Olympia do that or is that Thurston County that did that?
The Yelm Highway down
Yeah.
towards Henderson. I think it's the
Yeah,
city of Olympia. I
Is it Olympia?
think so.
Did they just open a new one?
Yeah, just off of Yelm Highway as you go through the roundabout there by the
Ward Lake.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
near Ward Lake. Yeah, it's not on, it's not right on Ward Lake, is it? Anyway, it's near it.
It's by that word.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
I've done some research. Olympia has done several pop-up dog parks that are pretty I would say low cost in some areas that are, they've done like 3 or 4 of them that are, parks that are not super they're not like children's playgrounds, you
Right,
know, and
exactly,
so
yeah.
they,
It's one up by the courthouse. It's weird.
right, I went to look, right, exactly.
It's got a fence,
I
but
think the one by the landfill's kind of weird.
yeah, that was weird.
But a lot of people use it.
They
right?
do. You know, you can go there.
That's all my report, sorry.
Oh, thank you. Director?
Okay, I've got a number of things, but I'll zip through them. So I wanted to report, we did receive $5,000 for cultural celebration, which by the way is this Saturday at St. Martin's. And $5,000 dedicated to the RAC from the Nisqually Indian Tribe to be used in 2024. So we wanna make sure that's documented and, for operations. That's what the application was for. And so we want to publicly thank the Nisqually Indian Tribe and make sure that's documented through the Parks Board as well. Partner and I met with the Park Foundation last week to review priorities for 2024. So I'm excited once Carter gets a little more trained up, he'll be doing a report to the board about some of that information. Big news for Jenny and I, the Recreation and Conservation Office grant cycle is upon us. It's every 2 years. And so applications are due May 1st. Jenny and I have spent a lot of quality time together this week working on reviewing, which grant category would match up with which projects. We think we're making 3 applications this time, but we're still kind of working through that. So anyway, that's going on. The Ken Balsley Memorial Bench Dedication event that was gonna be held January 18th was canceled due to the weather. We're currently rescheduling it and I don't have a date to give you, but I do promise to distribute that once we have it.
You think in March?
No.
Okay, good.
No, we're currently looking at May. So, but there's a lot of different people to coordinate with, so. I also want to let you know, as you know, with the comprehensive plan update, there are the public needs that have been expressed, and then there is, obviously, not having enough funding to pull off all those projects. So we did finally go ahead and get a date with City Council in April to look at potential parks funding options. So I want to make sure that you all knew that, especially with us not having an April meeting. It's tentatively scheduled for April 23rd right now, so.
Will that include the public facilities district tax thing that we need to decide whether we need to renew it for the RAC?
Public Facility District, thank you for bringing that up. That's the extension, and that's already a done deal. That's already been extended. Yes, so
10 years?
that should be in my report as well, so thank you. It's a 15-year extension,
Okay.
and the rules are that new debt needs to be issued on a current project. So the 2 projects that are included in that Public Facilities District are the RAC and the Hands-On Children's Museum in Olympia.
Does that include phase 3 across the street?
So that would be, that's what Lacey.
Is it called phase 3?
It's called phase 3, yes. That's the 26 acres across Marvin Road from the current.
We can issue debt for that.
Right. Yeah, so that's something that's been on the work plan for quite some time, and I'll have more information upcoming about that.
And the levy with the district passed, so that would be tied into that.
Oh, yeah.
So good question. Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up too. So the capital levy did pass that the school district put forth. And so their commitment for that is early childhood classrooms, obviously. And then the other potential part of that project for the Young Child and Family Center is going to be dependent on, so the YMCA is taking the lead on putting a funding scenario together for the recreational components to that facility. So yes, but that will probably come up as for the city has potential components in that project. So that would come up in a funding conversation. Yes.
This budget cycle, so when you start putting your stuff together in June and July or whenever you do it,
So
that levy money won't come in for a while.
it's not necessarily, so the funding discussion with the council is going to be less related to a specific budget, but more related to like parks funding in general moving forward.
Okay. We're not gonna try to supplant the budget. Use this money and,
No,
okay.
no, I mean, that wouldn't be me, no intent for that. So, but I'll keep you all posted as to happening with that. Regrettably, one of our longtime staff, Jordy Ratke, she left the department at the end of January. Regrettably for us, but we're very excited for her. She's moving into a different adventure for her and her family, but she's been with us almost 14 years. She started out as an intern with our department. She moved on to be a part-time staff and then moved on to be a full-time recreation coordinator for a number of years. I want to say 8 years of that. And then she most recently went to a half-time recreation coordinator position. So we will be filling that half-time recreation coordinator position. That one is in our sponsorship, marketing and special events. So Jeanette Sealer is the supervisor over that kind of program area. So there's interviews happening next week for that position. So we'll keep you updated with another new face in our department. But I wanted to let you know that Jordy is no longer with the department. I know. And then just FYI, we're having a department retreat the third week in March. We typically would have that in January, but we've gotten delayed a little bit this year, but we're excited to do that. And you know, we do team building and brainstorming and, you know, reporting out a lot of the information too that you all saw tonight and celebrating successes and accomplishments. So we're very excited for that. Also, the city had the annual employee recognition banquet and ceremony. That was this past Friday at St. Martin's. That was very exciting as well. And that's all I have, unless you have questions for me. Thank you.
All right, so are we voting for adjournment now?
No,
Um,
that was, I think that's just show that anything with this asterisk next to it is,
Oh,
we're.
okay.
So we were never gonna adjourn.
Yeah, you just have to be here
Yeah.
forever.
Gotta
Well, cause I don't, never remember seeing
No.
it vote requested underneath here, okay.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that's
like a
just a footnote.
subtext,
So, right, and you don't need a motion for adjourn. You can
Okay.
just
That's what I thought.
reach the end of our agenda.
Okay,
So-
it is now 7:15 PM. I call our meeting to a close. I will adjourn us. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you.
being here this evening.
And we'll see you in May. Remember, no April meeting. I know.